GuMiho versus Serral on the 2000 atmospheres, and again, European server qualifier here as well. So this is played on the European server for, as we obviously try to qualify players into ASUS ROG. Serral GuMiho is a matchup that you wouldn't really imagine would happen very often, but GuMiho did take a map off Serral the last time they met, and it was when Serral was looking good. It was in 2019 in IEM. GuMiho took a map off Serral in the group stages. So took a map then, and before that, they actually played it in BlizzCon back in 2017, and GuMiho won that 2-0, then 2-1. And yeah, it's funny because obviously they just haven't played that much. They've only had ever 5 official meetings across 4 different tournaments. So yeah, they met 4 times in 2017, once in 2019, and this will be their first meeting since, unsurprising, since obviously Serral doesn't play a lot of online cup stuff, especially not cross-server. Only major qualifiers and major events and so on. GuMiho has obviously only just recently returned from the military, so he's been gone for a couple of years. So it really shouldn't be surprising to have that, you know, to have those stats kind of brought up the way that they are. Top right, our blue Zerg Serral, and then bottom left, GuMiho. Sorry, I don't know if I did the intros, but just in case you guys can't identify who is where on the map. Spawning pool first from Serral, and I don't mind it. GuMiho went for a... You know, GuMiho went for that proxy racks on this map earlier, and maybe Serral was having a look at that. Very possible. B, Serral might just say, there's no reason to put myself in any danger here, right? He probably feels like the favorite. He probably feels like the player who will be in more control of this series. So he says, look, if I just make sure I don't die early, then I'm probably going to be on the right track, you know? If I can do that, it's generally going to be pretty good for me. So I imagine that's how this will play out, and I imagine that's how it will continue to look as our link speed comes in, and that SCV of GuMiho goes for a little scout up into the natural, just seeing the hatchery is not a hatchery first, and that means that these Marines might want to get home and be safe. It's not a Reaper opening. And because it's not a Reaper opening, this is actually kind of nice for GuMiho in a way, because... Okay, it works 2 ways, though. So, it's nice because these Marines, it's not like they would have wanted to go across the map like they would, like a Reaper would have. So, it's not like the Reaper's being held home. Because there's no Reaper to be held at home by the pool first. But, it does mean there's no Reaper to scout maybe a follow-up to this. You don't necessarily know if there's a Road Tron coming down, and that's why he's obviously just going to blind bunker. You don't really need the bunker with 3 Marines out against just the Lings. But he doesn't know that necessarily, so he's playing the safer game because he's going to be a bit blind. Even just Ling speed finishing if Serral had decided to spam Lings, which would have been weird, but, you know, like I say, that's the sort of thing that would catch you off guard. That would obviously punish no bunker too, so there's a reason to have a bunker up in general. And, yeah, GuMiho will have to play a little bit blind and just a bit defensive early, while Serral, well, we'll see what he wants to do. Serral played this Korean server qualifier, obviously played a lot of Roach openings in the ZvT we saw of him against Björn. Don't know if that's going to be the case here. I wouldn't expect it to be. I imagine we see a good amount of Ling Bane. I mean, he could go for some aggressive Roach stuff, but I wouldn't imagine he's going to play this kind of Roach macro opener. That's very much so a very server-specific thing when he's playing cross-server, I would guess. Hey, Wizard King 1122-8. Thank you so much for the 14-month resub. Welcome back. Once again, thank you so much for continuing your sub. Interesting little wall from GuMiho. He's very afraid of something hitting him early, and so he doesn't even go for the full wall across the front. He half walls, which will give him some time with units behind here, take surface area off the bunker, but obviously it doesn't do the full job of protecting entry into this natural, which means that it's still not exactly ideal, as a second barracks is coming through. So a very funky opening, but with Overlord speed, Serral will see all of it. And even a Cyclone and more Marines made, so everything about this from GuMiho screams, I need to defend in case Serral is aggressive. And now he's got 7 Marines and a Cyclone that will not take very good map control on their own. Hellions are on the way up, sure. But yeah, I feel like GuMiho has been definitely kind of scared into a lot of what he's built, because a lot of what he's built just isn't that good at actually kind of, you know, taking it into a longer game or anything. Cyclone and the 2 Hellions will move back through to the center. Finland Nest on the way down the front of the natural, just going to see the Hellions and a Cyclone back around the right, and a third CC is coming up as well. Just getting that rolling already. Queens around the left, just going to go past the watchtower. Feeling surrounded in a set of rocks. A few queens coming down the ramp, and the Cyclone getting a little lock on is going to chase that Overlord away. So Overlord chased out of there. Queens do come through, and the Hellions taking a bit of damage. Going to get pushed down a bit, and we do see the Zerglings wrapping around, and that is a couple of Hellions killed off already. So a couple of Hellions will go down. I'm just going to be seeing that fourth hatchery finishing up or coming up on the top side of the map. So as our last sets up from Serral, we do have a couple of Evo chambers that will also drop onto the back of the natural. And just going to be seeing, well, like I say, 1-1, stim pack, all of this coming through at the moment. As our Zerglings will sit out the front. Just going to play Ling Bane, and obviously just focus on the Bane speed before upgrades and stuff, but that's perfectly normal, that ain't weird. Serral's already on a very good work account. Obviously, GuMiho's work account, a bit of a weird one because he was never really aggressive early, and because he obviously never had a fast third CC either. So again, kind of the way in which the opening went, having a bit of a negative effect on GuMiho right now, as Marines do come through and grab another creep tumor. We're going to stem and actually pick away at a few of the Zerglings that maybe thought about running through there. Collect up toward the top side, and a hatchery out in the middle of the map as Queens in a bit of trouble. Damage being put out, Marines getting chased away, a couple medevacs taking some hits, and we are going to get Ling Queen starting to take down this set of rocks. So these rocks will start to take some damage. Going to get knocked down in the next few moments as our baneling speed continues through, and our melee upgrade continuing up. Marines will get rid of a couple of creep tumors. Medevac's going to take some damage. Another Marine or so being picked away at. And they're just going to go down to that bottom left-hand side. We do have, again, the 1-1, the combat shield. All of this coming through as the Cyclone is able to grab a changeling. So many Marines coming up. Things getting a bit of a surround on rocks, and we have got the Marines also making their way forward a little bit as GuMiho settles down. Hellions and Marines coming through the middle as well, picking off a couple more Lings. Well, big push from GuMiho. Obviously, Serral will not have the upgrades, and his carapace even later than what you might expect elsewhere, too. As our 2-2 upgrades continue up, our Cycle in the front, getting surrounded a little bit. Halbat's being hit a little bit as well. I see a tank sieging. Marine's going to put some damage onto the hatchery, so Hatch will take some shots, and here we go. The Ling Bane going to come moving through. Bane's going to start rolling down this ramp, and Marines continue to split away. And a few more Banes on the left-hand side, and Serral just has so much all over the place. A little bit unlike Serral, honestly. I mean, like I say, upgrades out of sync, minerals, you know, just to spare in the bank. Macro maybe has not been completely spot on here from Serral. Yeah, maybe just missing an injector too. I mean, he had this macro hatch come up, but yeah, like I said, just weird to see Serral, you know, at money that he can't really spend. But I mean, it didn't really matter. He completely crushed this fight. Even though GuMiho, honestly, I felt like I had a decent timing, upgrade lead. Sometimes Serral's engagements are just a little bit too good, and we see that all the time when we cast Serral. And sometimes, I mean, it's the magnificence of casting Serral sometimes, right? Just seeing, you know, Serral, Clan, Reno, the engagements are just so good that even a fight that seems even, you're like, oh, well, maybe their macro's a bit off. No. It's just really good for them. Resources loss is kind of even as well. It was just a really, really good fight. Obviously, Serral had a lot of creep around everywhere else to set up when, you know, flanks with and stuff too, so now he's just going to clean out some rocks, and GuMiho is going to try and come forward with a little bit of a drop here, but shouldn't really be too possible to do much, as we do see Marines clearing out a bit of creep on the left-hand side. Lings will run in for that, and those medevacs will just have to lift up and get out. Obviously, Serral's biggest issue right now will just be, it is, you know, the fact it is pure Ling Bane. 114 Lings on the map, by the way. And that just means that dropships can always lift up and get out of trouble, and that is the one thing that really, really will go a long way right now. As our Ling Bane heads down to the bottom side, going to wrap around for a couple of Marines. Contaminates the +2 armor, which is moments from finishing. Not sure. I mean, maybe it then delays the +3 armor, right? Don't think it's going to make much of a difference here. It is nice, though. Anything you can do to offset the upgrades a little bit, it's always going to help. GuMiho never started +3, though, so I went +3 attacks. I wonder if he even kind of forgot about you know, I wonder if he wouldn't have even remembered until now. Although maybe he wanted the armor to finish so he could start them in sync. Sometimes that's a thing. Although now he starts +3 attack and no +3 armor. Hopefully he goes back and remembers in a moment or two as Ling Bane lines itself up on the bottom side. A couple of tank shots and Ling's already taking some damage and just waiting for... I mean, is he just going to go? He's just going to go. It's a lot of Ling Bane into siege tanks. Well, I mean, splash damage is looking alright off the tanks initially, but there's just so much Ling Bane. I think anytime a Ling Bane army can just roll into you like that, it sort of says all about what's happening in the game. The Banes blow up just to make sure that CC doesn't get a chance to lift, and that's actually a cute move because I thought it was moments away. You saw GuMiho cancel the planetary morph to make it liftable, but the Banelings had other ideas, and Serral is going to be in winning territory here in map number 1 against GuMiho. Marines are stimming through, and a bit of Ling Bane action will continue in as well, but there's just so much Serral, and I feel like that's how a lot of people feel like when they play against Serral. There's just so much Serral everywhere. A little bit, just because I talked about it earlier, but just people complain if it's not if it's not updated a little bit. Thank you so much for pushing us up there. I really appreciate that. Hey, what's up, Todd? Sesame chicken strips so good, dude. I want you know, this conversation on Twitter made me want them real bad, you know. What's up? Oh, you had a good time, mate. It looked like you had a lot of fun. Hey, yo, thank you again, Gwen, GH Gwen. Is that just a Gwen or is it a GH Gwen? Please let me know. Well, the 6 gifted subs going out to LG Mech 5, Mixu for the 8-month resub, Pyro Knight 64 at Altruli for the 2-month resub, Sec Daddy, and Gary the Snail 8. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. I really appreciate it. Also, during the last game, Tara on the 18-month resub, saying 18 is a nice number. Thank you so much for a year and a half of subscribing. I really appreciate that too. Thank you very much. Serral, top left. GuMiho, bottom right. Game number 2. Alright, everyone. I do think GuMiho might crank out the BCs and the mech play a little bit here this time around. Just gonna see how Vol's moving around. It was a CC first out of GuMiho, so kind of what he did earlier as well. Oh, was it GuMiho that did this earlier? Did he do this against B? He did, right, in the final game. That's all, guys. It's been a long day. I've been up since 6 AM again with the puppy, so my brain's a little bit of mush, and we've been live for a good few hours as well because we casted the Korean server qualifier too. So, yeah. Someone went CC first before me, assuming it's GuMiho, because I don't think I would have remembered it if it wasn't the European server qualifier. So, yeah, Reaper just moving around a little bit, Ling speed coming up, and just gonna see our reactor coming through our barracks on the way. Should go for 2,000 subs. We're not going to get to 2,000 subs, guys. DreamHack Season's fine. I only have like 3-4 days of streaming before I don't stream for like 8 or 9 days because of DreamHack, so it's a little bit unrealistic to aim for 2,000 subs. That's basically saying like, let's get 100 subs a day for the next 4 days. Don't think that's a thing. I mean, it would be amazing if we did, but that would also include a lot of selling out. And I feel like we really did do our fair share of selling out in the last few days. So I don't think it's fair to push any further. I think we've really I think we've really already done extremely well this month, much better than I ever thought we would. So I'm very content already. Well, Hellions making their way across. Banshee, Hellions all coming through. Cloak setting up on the starport as well, as the few Queens are going to move down to the bottom side. Banshee going to be finishing. Armory is on the way. A lot of setting up right now. Make that double armory, in fact. So 2 armories coming up as the Marine is going to go through this Overlord, try and deal some damage. A couple of armories, like mentioned, so it's the double armory style. Like, I kind of thought we might see some BCs, but he's going to go double armory for double upgrades instead. What he usually does with this is it turns into a double Thor drop, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really old school build, and yet one that can be very cool. That's just a good move from Serral. Intercepts the Banshee, and all of a sudden the Banshee, which is just about now to have Cloak, I mean, now it's just already low HP, so you're already really stopped from being able to be as aggressive as you would have wanted to have been. It's with the mute G, so pronounced when. Well, there we go. Awesome. It was your first WoW character. It's amazing. My first WoW character was called XOX Mini Wardy. It's a very long story, guys, that we are not going to go into. Banshee gonna go, and it was a no mage before, and it was on a server that then a few days later, I realized all my school friends played on a different server, so that was the end of the no mage, and off to Hold we went, and we never looked back. Ling's nibbling through the rocks at the moment as Hyperflight Rotors is underway. Not surprising, when you don't go BCs and you play Mech, going for the Hyperflight Rotors and the Banshees, they fulfill a similar role. This kind of air force that can move around the map, deny bases a little bit, and just be very annoying and generally force a reaction. As the Queens do get there to turn these Hellions around, so Hellions are going to be thwarted from getting anywhere just yet. Going to be seeing our Hellions slipping some damage out. Queen's taking some hits. Thor productions continue. It was never that double Thor drop, and I'm trying to think when he does double Thor. Maybe double Thor comes off of. I guess you can't go double Thor on the Banshee production, obviously, because you obviously want to go for the double medevac. So I'm trying to think what he goes double Thor off of. There is an opening that GuMiho likes to go double Thor drop off of. Obviously, this one is just not it. I'm trying to rack my brain, but it ain't coming to me right now. So all good. Life goes on as we do see our Hellions just perusing the map to try and clean up some creep wherever possible. We do have, like I say, a lot of Thor's building though, so I mean the mech composition is going to be like Thor, Hellbat, Banshee. I tell you what's not going to be good against that, Mutalisks. Now obviously the mutas are being made because, you know, for the most part they're going to be looked at and say, well look, you know, these mutas, we need them because I want to shut down these Banshees, and with mutas I can keep up with them, I can intercept the Banshees. They're a very reliable way of stopping this Banshee harass from doing much. But then the Thors are obviously going to be like, well, goodbye Mutalisks. You're going to have to be real careful. Nice couple of Banes. Clearing the way for the Lings to wrap around for the surround, and that's just an easy cleanup on what might have been something that, or maybe should have been something that could have been so much worse. It just was not though, so very well handled. As now the Banshees split. Good idea. Now only one Banshee goes down instead of the two, so one Banshee sacrificed, the other Banshee slides away. Well, it's something at least as melee and missile upgrades on the way from Serral to show us kind of basically a mix in terms of what he's going to be playing. He's going to be playing a bit of everything in this upcoming few minutes. He'll be having the Ling Bane be a part of this army. He'll be having probably some Roaches be part of it, it would seem. So yeah, a bit of everything. And like I say, the Thors are going to make this Muta style hard to make work. But we know how good Serral is. He's very active with these Mutas. And right now, you know, I'm talking like there's already a ton of Thors. There's only 3, and 2 on the 4th base, and 1 is on the front of the natural. And that means that there's nothing in the main. As we come in here, Serral actually misclicked the refinery, I think, right away. But he is going to get a turret, and he is going to get this refinery. And he's already doing damage to slow GuMiho down. And obviously this is all going to start adding up, so I'd say already looking pretty okay here for Serral. In these early few moments, nice little 4-shot or so. Just going to hit the mutas again, though. I mean, like I say, the mutas maybe aren't doing much, but he's still maintaining the mutas, and little bits of damage do add up over time. And the thing is that I'm really worried for GuMiho for is that Serral is just going to start taking over the map, you know? He is just going to, I mean, even right now, he's already picking off some units for free and stuff. Maybe not fully for free, maybe lose some muta, but he's got the map to kind of play behind this anyway, so he's not concerned at all. He's not worried because he's got so many bases coming up. He's already on 90 drones. Serral's just comfortable if he can be the one in control, and he is absolutely the one in control at the moment, I would say. There's not a doubt in my mind about that, as our upgrades will finish. All those meters pulling back. A bunch of Banes are going to morph in down the bottom side, and these Ravagers coming through as well. They're going to start aiming themselves at this bottom side base, so aiming to go through here. We're going to see a couple of tanks starting to siege up. Thors as well. First Val's coming down, but not really connected on anything just yet, as these Banshees do come through to chase the Ravagers back, but then the Mutas show up, and they're going to try and get the Banshees as well. We're going to go for this. Oh my god, the Mutalisk just melted! As Serral runs into every Thor GuMiho had. I have not seen Mutalisk die much faster than that, and that is, I mean, that was every Muta. I mean, he built about 14 in total. That's a pretty serious number. Maybe a couple went down before then, but I mean, that was 10 plus Mutas just disappearing. GuMiho with the Thor shots, well, I mean, to kind of put in perspective how well Serral is doing, he's still close to being maxed out as he just rebuilds off of that. And it is going to be a bit of a major hit to his gas bank. But in a way, I wonder if Serral was even kind of thinking, like, do I really want these mutas for much longer? Because, okay, maybe against the Banshees, but there's actually only, what, like 2 Banshees on the map, so it's not like there's a squad of 5 or 6 flying around trying to deny bases. So I actually wonder if Serral even kind of thought, like, well, maybe I don't want these so much, so he was a little bit more reckless than you would usually expect him to be, because he can then rebuild. I mean, just a theory, because like I say, I don't necessarily think it's terrible that he has more army supply for units that might just be better in an actual fight. Because the mutas, I guess, were still finding some openings, but it wasn't like they were, you know, succeeding every single which direction they went. Viking going to put some damage on the Overlords, and just having this army of GuMiho moving around to the top side. Predator Spire is going to be finishing from Serral, and we scan as a couple more creep teamers get picked off. Just going to chase that Overlord away to the right still, so that is being picked away at as well. And those few Ravagers want to keep on moving down as a couple of Biles come through, and you can just see these Thors already in some trouble as they eat the Biles. GuMiho is maxed. 124 army supply to Serral's 101. So Serral needs to be able to fight this army and have a chance at rebuilding, because if you don't get that rebuild chance, you generally fall into a lot of trouble in these scenarios. So that's what I'm expecting to be kind of a major feature here as we get this set on up. And we see him still pushing around the top. Serral might just counterattack as well, cause chaos at home for the Terran. And if he loses this top base, he still has the bottom left side of the map at the moment, right? So far from the end of the world as the Banshees trying to be annoying. The Corruptor's trying to cut the corner off and chase them down. 2 of them might get away. Link counterattack into a base that has a single tank defending it. Maybe a Thor. Well, the thing is, none of those units really do well against a whole bunch of Zerglings, so that probably goes alright for you here as Serral. And he's already going to get rid of a fair few SCVs. So good counterattack already being made. Now we have some Cyclone lock-ons and pushing the Ravagers back slightly. 13 SCVs down. Even more Lings on this bottom side, because I think you realize, well, there's still just nothing here. A Thor is still the only defense. The reproduction was all caught up because GuMiho was maxed, so then production takes a while to come out because you've got to start fresh production on mech units. And this is now 24 workers going down. GuMiho has just not dealt with this well at all. Finally, Hellions show up to save the day. That might already just be too late. Might already be too much damage dealt. Another Overlord topside gets taken down. GuMiho is attempting to get to a 5th base, and that's, well, you know, all well and good, but now you don't have workers for a 3rd base. Never mind your 5th base. Better get to rebuilding those. Obviously has got a lot of CCs to rebuild with, so I suppose that ain't the end of the world. Cyclones. Kind of, again, zoning a little bit more than anything. And we've seen the Cyclones actually going to get a lock onto a few units. Corruptors are flying through on their own accord. I'm not sure what their goal is or their target. Maybe just a bit of a misrally is... You're going to be seeing a few of these units here still in some trouble as well, though. I mean, doesn't feel as though there's a lot immediately ready to, you know... I don't know, I guess with the power comes in, you know, everything kind of fighting together from GuMiho, but when things are a little bit split away, you can maybe see the potential of a little bit of a links around and, you know, some other bits and pieces. Moving back out to the right side here. Those are Ling's going to go via the top right, and obviously we've counterattacked the bottom side of the map. Now we're going to maybe hit the right side. This is a fresh planetary. And again, a lot of the time, what you're aiming to do is just reset the bases, right? Keep the economy down. If you can keep the economy down, keep GuMiho from building up a significant bank, you will do very well in this game. That's typically how it works. So, economy denial will be important. And Serral, as he runs in here, he's going to be a bit like, well, probably would have liked a few more SCV kills with this. He just straight up kills the planetary. I don't hate it. At the end of the day, like I say, if you can't mine from that base, Serral's rich enough to do that. He's not like an immediate threat of a counterattack because he gave up those banelings. So, as long as that's the case, you are absolutely fine to make a play like that. No worries at all. As we are going to see a few Lings going down. The Broodlord's kind of getting caught in the middle of nowhere. Cyclones ain't meant to be the best against Broods. When there's not enough Broods to really stop the Cyclones getting the lock-ons, obviously that doesn't really matter. As we do get another hatch kill. And, I mean, a few drones coming down. GuMiho's army has been able to stand fairly strong here, and now Serral's going to decide to fight. Remember that, oh my god, the Cyclone's actually doing a lot. He's getting lock-ons onto Thors. Well, now the Cyclones come out of the Neurals, and we do have scans, and those Infestors get chased down. It ain't exactly pretty for Serral. How much lava has he got? He's got enough lava, right? No, he doesn't have lava. Serral's going to have 5k in the bank, but he is not going to have lava to spend. GuMiho, he doesn't realize it. If GuMiho knew that Serral was not producing enough right now, he was not remaxed already, GuMiho would fight, but of course, he's afraid that Serral's instantly remaxed and that he's going to need more time to rebuild, and that's going to cost GuMiho here. My goodness, GuMiho backs it up and gets the hell out, and Serral kind of dodges a bullet because GuMiho maybe could have kept pushing. Yes, there was a run of production, don't get me wrong, and that's why Serral had no lava at all, because he did use it. But he didn't have enough lava to fully max right away. Would that have made the difference? It's hard to say, and of course, again, like I said, it's also tough, because we're observers and we can see that GuMiho cannot. Hey, GuMiho's playing a pretty competitive game with Serral right now, though. I think it has to be said, it's more competitive than I would have guessed it would have been at the start of this series. I thought the Mech game was going to be the one that Serral was actually going to be able to deal with pretty well, because Serral is typically very good against comps that are, you know, what we usually say, well figured out. And again, I mean, do I even still worry for Serral? I mean, a tiny bit. But he's also the player with money in the bank, and he's also controlling the game. So, yeah, he's not won the game out already, but is he struggling? I suppose not really. You know, Serral is still, I think it'd be hard-pressed to say Serral doesn't have good control of the game, isn't kind of just doing what he wanted to do anyway, so in that regard, I guess you can't really complain all that much. You can't really criticize all that much. Walking into those tanks, though, that kind of hurts. Resources lost is at a 9k favor to Serral, and that's why it's so important he gets all these bases, and GuMiho is kept back, not necessarily off every single base out there, but off at least a good few of them. Keeping GuMiho back is only going to be helping you out, so something to keep in mind. Cyclones around the top, just going to be seeing the Thor wandering up there as well. Obviously very frustrating to try and get rid of all of these, or keep these bases alive, because the Cyclone harass is actually very good. Does kill that Raven, which is pretty neat, and the Fungals there were really good. And re-hitting the Fungal allowed the Biles to connect, so really good Fungals so far. And really allowing for a better fight. Uh-oh, Neurals go down. Now the Thors are going to fight other Thors. The problem is you don't have anything in range to stop these Infestors. If these Infestors can be targeted down, it's a completely different story. We cross with the new Thors, and that's just going to be how the game ends. And I guess, again, like I was kind of alluding to a few moments ago, should you ever really doubt Serral? No, probably not. And has he ever been, uncomfortable in this game? No, probably not. He was kind of playing into what he wanted to be at. There was just maybe 1, 2 moments of weakness, maybe opportunities, and even then it's like a mild what-if sort of thing, more than anything else. GG's, and that is going to be Serral taking the 2-0, but hey, an entertaining game on